How is things going for you class-wise?
So far so good. Just kind of getting into like a groove of things as far as like delegating like my work and whatnot. But so far it's interesting. It's like seems like a lot, like because there's so many different like concepts I feel like, but so it just makes it interesting.
Okay. Are you sort of having, a way to, the way it works with the tests? My tests, lecture tests are open book, so it's really about learning. And I have a test a review created for you to go back and make sure you understand what I'm asking on the test and stuff like that. Have you is that clear so far, or shall we go through?
Yeah, it's been clear so far.
Okay. Because I tried to went through that in the first video, kind of thing. Yeah, because there is a lot of concepts, and then especially the first week, there's also a lot of homework, kind of house cleaning stuff a little bit. Um, but then again, make sure when it feels like it's a lot to tell yourself, oh, but he doesn't. You don't need to memorize it. It's really about understanding it in his part of the class.
Okay, correct.
So that's always something that is a little hard for these subjects that are so much memorization, and we do have to work hard on it. Anything else on that front? Or hold on, I got a text from somebody. Oh, that's somebody else. Um, from last week, did you have any questions into the homework that you did go through?
Um, I don't think so. Not that I could
Okay,
think of right now, no.
and let's move on then a little bit and explain what we're doing this week. So what I'm gonna do. Today is my grading day. Last week, unfortunately, I'm sorry if I have been a little slow with some grading. I got a sinus thing, so it's really hard to think for a few days. Today, everything is gonna be caught up and reflected as graded in the system, and feedback back and forth. One thing that I'm gonna do is this health kit thing, which is always a little ambiguous until we started. So what I do with that is I have you pick a activity you would like to do for 3 weeks, either the water drinking, the um, exercisey type, or the meditation, mindfulness, prayer type activity. And then I make groups of like-minded ones. Make sure it's about 7 or 8 people, not too many in a group. And I usually do that over Pronto. So we have to think about, if not everybody uses Pronto, that we might want to do regular text. That's fine with me. So we'll figure that out. What do you feel like doing on that front? If I ask you, since it's just the two of us, Monique, do you like
Um,
texting, regular texting, or is that too intrusive like that?
No, I don't think so. It's not. I mean, either way, I have like all of my notifications on. So if it's through text or I honestly never really use the Pronto, but I mean, I can. But I don't have an issue with like the text or like the email, like through Canvas.
I'll be monitoring in the back, sort of. If most people don't do Pronto, then if it's just one or two not doing it, we'll do it over Pronto. Otherwise, we'll go just do text groups. And because what I want you to do in the next few weeks is for 5 days, not the weekend, take off the weekend, but for 3 weeks, I have us do those activities, that health challenge, so to speak, each of the 5 days. And when we're done, I say to a text, hey, I've did my walking, my big toe hurts now, or so. Say something that like, or I feel more energy, or so. Be a little bit of like reflective on that, and just a quick, and if the groups are like 7, 8 people, then we get a, maybe I'll do 5 people, depending. If it's too much, then it's not too much text, but it keeps us going and sort of motivated. And so that's sort of the idea of that part. And so if
Okay.
somebody uses Pronto, I'm not going to do Pronto. Then I'm not going to make you all using Pronto just for that. So we'll get a feel for it, and I have a feeling if people are open enough, we're probably just going to make texting because it's probably easier for everybody. I don't know.
Okay.
For me, it is.
Yeah, same here.
All right, so that's what's gonna how we're gonna further deal with this. So just keep working on it. But if there wasn't too much else going on, let's go right into this week. And this week is about um, chemistry. in my lecture class. Although this is about the lecture class. The lab class, you're not doing anything in that topic, but I want you to get a bit more deeper in understanding the body and foundation chemistry. So part of that a little bit, even
Okay.
anatomy course. And so it's not, it's not the end of the world. Most modern type chemistry, it's really geared about what is used for our internal body. So we're still using the atomic model here. We're not going all into the newest stuff that, who knows, who understands that kind of stuff. So it's really about atoms and molecules and the different bonds. So it's really about how the different atoms and molecules are held together, and then how does the body break them and make them to transform molecules and make proteins like that. So we kind of need a foundation understanding. But even in here, I go very fast into the organic compounds of carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, fat stuff, and I talk a little bit about ATPs, a little bit about the obesity, because it's very important to figure out that the carb, they went really wrong with telling us that fat makes us fat, which is really, of course, if you only eat lard, that's more make you fat.
True.
But the good stuff like avocado is a good fat, or an egg is a good, it's good cholesterol. So we got to have a little conversation about that. And so we have that in here, and then as activities, every lesson has behind it. Sorry, it takes a moment. The questions. Wait, that's week one. That's the wrong week. Right, the questions here. Okay, there's a little bit more questions. So, well, it's not really a practical topic in that respect, but I try to make it practical by giving you a food label analysis exercise with it. And so I want us to go, and I should do it too this semester with you again, go through food nutrition fact labels in our cabinet. And I want you to, or in the store, but I want you to do a few analyses of the food label and write these numbers down and sort of think about them a little bit, of foods in your cabinet. And I want you to use foods that are like snacky foods that label is right there, pasted on it. It's easy to get. But I do also want you to use one vegetable and one fruit that you eat. Sort of as comparison, because and those you might need to look up on Google.
Okay.
The broccoli doesn't come with the food label pasted on it, right? But it's not on the broccoli itself. But that way, it gives us a little understanding of because we want to be mindful. It doesn't mean we don't want to eat the potato chips, but I want to be mindful of it. That's all, And so I'm having an exercise to understand chemistry a little better in going from that route and making it practical.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
And then in here also, the other thing that I kind of like is, I think what we're studying is a very a picturesque medium. It's a very visual medium, anatomy. And so I'm going through the process of how I create my class, basically, or actually I've written also some textbooks or booklets. And I go by going through Google, looking at topics that interest me and looking for images and copy paste them into Word document. And I think, I want you guys to go through that process one time, to just kind of have it as a tool in your basket of hey, I can study it this way, because we have so much stuff available these days from free sources and what's more important to me is from different angles of understanding it, especially the YouTube videos too. But on this one, I want you to focus on the image. So I go through how to, look at the image and click at the image, and then how to download it and then paste it. And then I want you to do that process and have a discussion of why you like that image as this one thing. And then, of course, that also gives us an opportunity to bounce back feedback with each other and share some ideas that way. So that's one activity here, as just sort of learning a process kind of thing. Then we also have some chemistry concepts of understanding. So go through those. That's in the first 3 chapters. So this is the second one and then we have one more of those on cells, and then we leave those behind, and we don't worry about those anymore. Then we get more into the physical stuff we can touch in anatomy. What's this bone called and stuff? We don't need to have these there. We do them differently. We don't have it color and labeling kind of stuff. All right, so that. Oh, and then the last thing here I have is a spotlight scientist, and actually still have the old Google map up. I have to change it. So what I want you to do is go and look at a sort of scientist that we don't expect to have created a come up with something. Like he's not from a dominant specific group. Like guess what? The white males are probably most likely the dominant group of doing stuff. So, but everybody contributes to these things. And I want us to look around a little bit. Maybe it's a minority person, maybe it's a woman, maybe like I chose Einstein's wife because I'm from Zurich in Switzerland, and she was buried there. They lived there at that time, and she helped him a lot with his discoveries, but never got credit for it. And so I wanna spotlight that, and I want to give her credit. But also for us, what's much more important is I want us to understand that this is all about studying, learning, and we can go where we want to go. Of course, it's not all just the free for all, but we have a lot of possibilities in this culture with our system of like community college, for example, to really, and I'm an example of that, to really do a lot of things what we like to do. And so I want us to not be hindered by thinking, oh, I'm not this, I couldn't do this. And so this is sort of why I'm bringing up this exercise and want you to spend, again, don't spend too crazy amount of time. It's not like you got to study from this later, but I want us to set the tone right and make us understand we can get things done. I mean, I came from Switzerland to study massage because I liked working with hands, but I was in insurance and computers, and then I studied massage. Then I studied chiropractic because I liked my hands, but I wasn't a brainy person. So it was hard for me to absorb these sciencey stuff things at first. And then I was all right with anatomy. I was good. And then my hands were apparently good. That's why I started it. And I was able to been working on many people for many years and working with insurance companies and mostly medical doctors. That's the thing as a chiropractor, and through talking about anatomy and how to work with people and be, based in that way, science, they actually listen, And so I feel like we wanna not bury and give us limitations sometimes, think we can't do something when we actually really can. Anyway, that's enough of that. I just want a little exercise on thinking about that, and then we leave that behind. And every week we're gonna finish up with a Padlet where we write some tips and some questions, and I'll go through this and also learn and answer and go through this a couple of times if you didn't sign on for it, so that way you get the feedback as well from people communicating to you. But you can sign on to Padlet with your school ID. That should work. And otherwise, let me know if that's not the way to do it. But I think generally that's the way to sign on to Padlet with the school ID. Okay, so I think that's enough talk for me. How's that for you?
Pretty good.
You feel like you got a little grasp of what the week's bringing?
Oh, yes.
Okay, then that's good. Then we can leave it at that. We don't have to spend too much extra time unless you have extra questions.
No, actually, I just have one question. As far as like text material, do you recommend anything? Because I feel like I'm more of that's the way that I kind of like to go about things. Like I know you're very descriptive as far as like the everything that you have, like as far as like on the like that goes with the assignments and everything. But like as far as like a textbook, is there anything that you would kind of recommend? Because I don't know why I've always been like a very like book type of person. It's just me, or like I like to print things out and like highlight them and things like that. Like, is there something that you would kind of recommend for somebody like me?
It's funny. I mean, I'm actually in the process of figuring out how to put my book on Etsy, because Um,
Oh,
I have consolidated stuff into sort of book format, so we can talk about that offline. That's slowly in the process, but in terms of textbooks, going to the further reading tab here, and what I have put there is an OpenStax anatomy book, and
okay.
that's a free source. And this is online, but you can from here.
Print it.
And the pictures I have in Canvas are actually from here because that way I know it's common source. It's not copyright stuff. You can get that in the format as well. And then it's like a few, not, but it's not that much money that way.
Oh, okay.
Or right, so that one is one that is open source for people to use, and when you print it, I think it's for cost or whatever. So it's not the end of the universe in the money department. Also, how the heck did I get out of here? Also, there is other books, of course, that are really great. And
okay.
you talk to me offline also, but one that is used a lot is, let me see if I can find that real quick. It's Netter. It's an atlas. Or actually, this is what I need to say. There's textbooks and then there's atlases. One book that's good, that's for anatomy and physiology, is Elaine Mariette. But what do you have in lab? Do you guys have a look in lab? Because I know he's talking about Martini, right? Actually, since I'm thinking about it, have you been looking at that yet?
No, I haven't.
On the lab first, what the lab, Carl, Dr. Estrella wants you to get? No?
Let me see.
Or does he have a text that he like needs you guys to get?
Let me see.
Okay, books. Yeah, you're looking for that?
Yeah, I'm looking right here. There's the first week of lab. Let me see. Questions, tips, congratulations for the vending resources. Let me see. Week one. Further learning. Let's see. Further learning resources. It has here the OpenStax anatomy text book reading. That's what they have here for the lab as far as like the resources he has or the YouTube lectures.
Uh-huh. So the OpenStax, and then does he have on my screen? I got this here, like this. Does he have a link to one of these Martini? See here, it says Martini.
Let me see.
That's a good anatomy text. Although all the textbooks, I feel that I'm not a reading person. If you are a reading person, it's okay. But a lot of the text is just the language can be very cumbersome, depending on that's more for if it's ESL and stuff. Then it gets a little longer.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm falling asleep all the time. The brain tries to translate it all to German and backwards, So that's a good book for anatomy text as a straight anatomy. I used to teach from that. I love teaching from that book actually, and you could probably get an old edition. Then you look at the money; it's not bad. If you look at the money down there, then another book that's good for anatomy and physiology is Elaine Mariette. Well, books from her. I don't. Where's the money? Can I do shopping? Let me do shopping. So that's these anatomy and physiology books. These are good. And that's the Elaine Mariette. To go to Amazon or so, get an old one, or something. So those are anatomy and physiology texts that's been around forever, and they're like those kind of classes use those. Those are very. Don't get the watered down version. Just get the real version because I used to teach from the watered down version and it was crap. They just they don't make a story. You need a full story, and the watered down version is just I think they felt like to make money. It wasn't cool. And then another one is then we talk about atlases, and atlases are picture books really, right? Of anatomy stuff, and that's another thing that's if you do anatomy and physio, that's really good. And this is a really cool atlas, Frank Netter. Let me go there and show you this one. You know, you don't have to get all this brand new stuff. You just get a old version of it. But this guy, because this guy's been around for 100 years, or not quite, but you know, a long, long time.
Okay.
A lot of the medical people, that's what they use. So this is a nice book where he is a really beautiful drawer. You see the heart here. You see how he draws it visually nice, right? So that's a really wonderful book. Text, not a textbook, but a picture book.
Okay.
If you're getting, you know, into nursing or so, and you need to look up stuff once in a while, or from a textbook, and where was that again? Then that's a great book to have, I think.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. This was helpful.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah, and you know, these days I like paper. You know, and these days, and you mostly don't need the latest edition. The stuff doesn't change that much. You know, save your money on that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I just, for me, I don't know. It's just more. I like to refer to like a book. That's just me, though.
Oh yeah, the Marriott book has incredibly great graphics to understand physiology stuff and anatomy. You know, then the Martini is much more just the anatomy part, not the physiology part.
Okay.
I think is wonderful. But I used to do in Cairo school, I actually didn't. I was paying attention to class and taking a lot of notes, but I didn't necessarily go back and read textbooks. But what I did do a lot is go look at the picture, read the captions, and go through the bolded words and understand them. And then read around. So I think it's excellent to use a textbook.
Okie dokie. Okay.
Excellent. Well, with that, I think we're good, huh?
Yes, we are.
Wonderful. Well, I wish you a wonderful week. And reach out, shoot me a text. My number is there. You can just shoot me a text. It doesn't have to be a prompt. I don't have to go on prompt. Just any format of communication for me is fine. Okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.